Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Hello, everyone. Today we will read the Harry Potter, the Sorcerer's Stone. If you want to know this story, stay with me until the end. Let's do it. Part 1. The Boy Who Lived. Harry Potter was a thin boy with black hair and green eyes. He wore big glasses and old clothes. He lived with the Dursleys. They were his uncle, aunt, and cousin. The Dursleys' house was very clean and tidy. Everything was always in its place. But Harry did not have a real room. He slept in a small cupboard under the stairs. It was dark and full of boxes. Every morning, Harry woke up early. He had to make breakfast for the family. He cooked eggs and bacon while the Dursleys sat at the table. His cousin Dudley always asked for more food. Dudley was a fat boy who liked to shout and push people. After breakfast, Harry walked to school with Dudley. But they were not friends. Dudley and his friends liked to chase Harry. They called this game Harry hunting. Harry hated this game. He often came home with dirty clothes and bruises. The Dursleys never gave Harry presents for his birthday. One year, Aunt Petunia gave him a coat hanger. Another year, she gave him an old sock. Harry felt very sad on his birthdays. But strange things happened around Harry. One day, he was at the barber shop. The barber cut Harry's hair very short. The next morning, Harry's hair was long again, exactly like before. Another time, Harry was at school. He had to wear an ugly sweater for a school play. He wished the sweater would get smaller. The next day, the sweater had become so small that only a doll could wear it. The strangest thing happened at the zoo. The Dursleys took Harry to the zoo for Dudley's birthday. They saw a big snake in a glass room. The snake was sleeping. Harry felt sorry for the snake. He thought, "You must be lonely in there." Suddenly, the snake opened its eyes and looked at Harry. It seemed to understand him. Then Dudley pushed Harry away. He wanted to see the snake, too. At that moment, the glass in front of the snake disappeared. Dudley fell into the snake's area with a loud cry. The snake slid out quickly. It looked at Harry and said, "Thanks," before going away. Everyone was screaming and running. Uncle Vernon was very angry with Harry. "How did you do that?" he shouted. But Harry didn't know how it happened. He was as surprised as everyone else. That night, Harry sat in his dark cupboard. He thought about all the strange things. Why did these things happen to him? Was he different from other people? He didn't know the answers. But soon, he would find out the amazing truth about himself. Part 2. The Letters. A week before Harry's 11th birthday, something strange started to happen. It began with the mail. Every morning, Uncle Vernon got the mail from the mail slot. But one day, there was a letter for Harry. Harry never got letters. Who would write to him? He felt excited. The letter looked special. It was on thick, yellow paper. The address was written in green ink. It said, "Mr. H. Potter, the cupboard under the stairs, 4 Privet Drive, Little Whinging, Surrey." Uncle Vernon saw the letter. His face turned white. "Not for you," he said loudly. He took the letter and tore it into pieces. Harry felt very sad. The next day, 3 more letters came for Harry. Uncle Vernon took them all. He put them in the fire. No more letters, he shouted. But the letters kept coming. On Sunday, things got very strange. Many letters came into the house. They came under the door. They came through the mail slot. They even came through the kitchen window. The Dursleys were very angry and scared. Uncle Vernon said, "We must stop these letters." He nailed the mail slot shut, but letters still came. They found letters in the eggs. They found letters in the milk bottles. Uncle Vernon decided to take the family away. "No letters can find us if we go away," he said. They packed bags and got in the car. They drove for a long time. They stayed at a small hotel. But in the morning, 100 letters were under their door. Uncle Vernon was very angry. He drove them to a faraway place. It was a small island in the sea. The weather was bad. It was raining and windy. They stayed in a small old hut. The hut had one room and one bed. It was cold and wet. That night, Harry lay on the floor. He was cold and hungry. He looked at Dudley's watch. It was almost midnight. Soon, he would be 11 years old. He felt unhappy. Why were there so many letters for him? Why were the Dursleys so scared? Then something loud happened. Boom! Someone was outside. Someone big was knocking on the door. The door shook and fell down. A giant man stood there. He had a long beard and a big black coat. He looked at Harry and smiled. "Happy birthday, Harry," he said. "I have a letter for you." The giant man gave Harry the same yellow letter. Harry's hands shook as he took it. Finally, he could read his letter. His life was about to change forever. Part 3. The Giant Visitor. The giant man came into the small hut. He was so tall that he had to bend down to enter. His face was mostly covered by long, messy hair and a big beard. He wore a heavy black coat that was wet from the rain. The giant man looked at Harry with kind eyes. "I'm Rubeus Hagrid," he said in a deep, warm voice. "I'm the keeper of keys at Hogwarts." Harry didn't understand. "What's Hogwarts?" he asked. Hagrid looked surprised. "Don't you know? Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry? You're a wizard, Harry." Harry thought this was a joke. "I think you made a mistake," he said. "I'm just Harry." Uncle Vernon found his voice. "Get out!" he shouted at Hagrid. "We told them we don't want any of this magic nonsense." Hagrid ignored Uncle Vernon. He sat down on the bed, which broke under his weight. He pulled out a pink umbrella and pointed it at the fireplace. Suddenly, a warm fire started burning. Hagrid took out some sausages from his pocket and started cooking them over the fire. "You must be hungry, Harry," he said. "Here, eat these." While Harry ate the delicious sausages, Hagrid told him the truth. "Your parents weren't killed in a car crash," Hagrid said gently. "They were wizards. They were murdered by the darkest wizard of all time, Lord Voldemort." Harry's hands trembled. "But what happened to me? How did I survive?" Hagrid's eyes became soft. "That's the mystery," he said. "Voldemort tried to kill you too, but he couldn't. You survived, and he lost his powers. That's why you have that scar on your forehead." Harry touched the lightning-shaped scar on his forehead. For the first time, He understood why it was there. Hagrid handed Harry the letter again. This is your acceptance letter to Hogwarts. You're going to learn magic, just like your parents did. Uncle Vernon shouted, "He's not going to any magic school." We promised we would stamp out this nonsense. Hagrid stood up angrily. He pointed his umbrella at Dudley, who was eating Harry's birthday cake. Suddenly, a pig's tail grew from Dudley's bottom. Dudley screamed and ran around the room. Now, Hagrid said to the Dursleys, "Would you like to say anything else against magic?" The Dursleys were too scared to speak. Hagrid turned to Harry with a big smile. "Ready to start your new life, Harry?" Harry looked at the kind giant, then at his acceptance letter, and finally at the scared Dursleys. For the first time in his life, he felt hope. "Yes," he said firmly, "I'm ready." Part 4, Diagon Alley. The next morning, Hagrid took Harry to London. They walked through the city until they came to a small, old pub called the Leaky Cauldron. The pub was dirty and dark, but when people saw Harry, they all became very excited. "Harry Potter," an old man whispered. "Welcome back." Harry was confused. Why did these strangers know his name? Hagrid smiled proudly. "You're famous, Harry," he explained. They walked through the pub to a small wall in the back. Hagrid took out his pink umbrella and tapped on some bricks. "Count 3 up and 2 across," he said softly. Suddenly, the bricks began to move. They twisted and turned until a large archway appeared. Behind it was a mazing street called Diagon Alley. Harry's eyes opened wide. He saw shops with magic wands in the windows. There were stores selling tall, black hats and books that could talk. People wore long robes instead of normal clothes. Owls flew carrying letters. It was the most wonderful place Harry had ever seen. Their first stop was Gringotts, the wizard bank. It was a big, white building with goblins working inside. Gringotts was like a normal bank, but much more exciting. They rode in small carts on tracks that went deep underground. Hagrid took Harry to his family's vault. When the door opened, Harry saw piles of gold, silver, and bronze coins. "This is all yours, Harry," Hagrid said. "Your parents left it for you." Harry had never seen so much money. He took some gold coins called galleons, some silver coins called sickles, and some bronze coins called nuts. Next, they went to buy school supplies. They bought black robes, a pointy hat, gloves, a winter cloak, books about magic spells and potions, a brass scale, glass bottles, a telescope. The most exciting stop was Ollivander's wand shop. The shop was old and dusty. Thousands of long, thin boxes were piled to the ceiling. An old man with big, pale eyes came out. He was Mr. Ollivander. "Harry Potter," the old man said, "I've been waiting for you." He measured Harry's arms and hands. Then he started giving Harry wands to try. The first wand made flowers in a vase explode. The second wand made all the windows shake. But when Harry picked up the third wand, made of Hollywood with a phoenix feather inside, a warm feeling spread through his fingers. Golden sparks shot from the end of the wand. "Excellent," said Mr. Ollivander. "The wand has chosen the wizard." This phoenix feather came from the same bird that gave a feather for Lord Voldemort's wand. How interesting. Harry bought the wand. He also got a beautiful snowy owl as a birthday present from Hagrid. Harry named her Hedwig. As they left Diagon Alley, Harry felt happier than ever before. He had money of his own, a magic wand, a pet owl, and he was going to learn magic. For the first time, he felt like he truly belonged somewhere. Part 5. The Journey to Hogwarts. On September 1st, Harry went to King's Cross Station with the Dursleys. He had his trunk full of school things and his owl Hedwig in a cage. Uncle Vernon pointed to the station and drove away quickly. Harry was alone and nervous. He had to find platform 9 3/4, but he only saw platform 9 and platform 10. There was no platform between them. He saw a family with red hair. They had many children, and all of them had trunks and owls. The mother was saying, "Platform 9 3/4, this way, everyone. Percy, you go first." A tall boy ran straight at the wall between platforms 9 and 10, and he disappeared. Harry couldn't believe his eyes. Then another boy ran and disappeared through the wall. The mother saw Harry looking confused. "Hello, dear," she said kindly. "First time at Hogwarts?" Ron's new too. She pointed to her youngest son. Harry took a deep breath. He closed his eyes and ran at the wall. He thought he would crash, but he didn't. When he opened his eyes, he saw an amazing sight. A big red steam train was waiting. The sign said Hogwarts Express. Many students were saying goodbye to their families. They wore black robes and pushed their trunks onto the train. Harry found an empty seat and put his trunk away. Then the youngest red-haired boy came in. "Can I sit here?" he asked. "Everywhere else is full." The boy's name was Ron Weasley. He came from a big, poor wizard family. He had freckles on his face and a dirty pet rat named Scabbers. Ron showed Harry his wizard chess set and told him about his family. A girl with bushy brown hair came to their door. "Has anyone seen a toad?" she asked. A boy named Neville lost his. She saw Harry trying to do magic with his wand. "That's not right," she said. "I've tried some simple spells, and they all worked for me." Her name was Hermione Granger. She talked very fast and seemed to know everything. She told them she read all their school books already. Later, a boy with a pale face and blonde hair came in. His name was Draco Malfoy. He was with two big boys who looked like bodyguards. "My father says the Weasleys have no money," Draco said to Ron. Then he looked at Harry. "You'll soon learn that some wizarding families are better than others." The train ride was long. Harry and Ron ate chocolate frogs and Bertie Bott's every flavor beans. The beans had strange tastes like earwax and vomit. Harry got a wizard card with Dumbledore's picture. Ron told him Dumbledore was the headmaster of Hogwarts. When it got dark, the train finally stopped. A giant voice shouted, "First years." "This way." It was Hagrid, holding a big lamp. "Follow me to the boats." Harry's first journey to Hogwarts was over, but his real adventure was just beginning. Part 6. The Sorting Hat. The first-year students followed Hagrid down a dark path. "You'll get your first view of Hogwarts in a second," Hagrid called back. Then they turned a corner, and there it was. Hogwarts Castle was huge and beautiful. It had many towers that touched the sky. Windows twinkled like stars in the dark night. The castle stood by a big black lake, 4 students to each boat. Hagrid shouted. Harry, Ron, Hermione, and a boy named Neville got into one boat. The boats moved across the lake by themselves. They went through a curtain of ivy and came to an underground harbor. They climbed up stone steps to a big wooden door. Hagrid knocked 3 times. The door opened, and there stood Professor McGonagall. She wore green robes and had her hair in a tight bun. She looked very serious. "Welcome to Hogwarts," she said. "The start of term banquet will begin soon." But first you must be sorted into your houses. She explained about the 4 houses: Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, and Slytherin. Your house will be like your family at Hogwarts, she said. You will have classes with your house, sleep in your house dormitory, and earn points for your house. Then she left them in a small room. Everyone was nervous. Harry heard that they had to do a magic test. Hermione was whispering all the spells she had memorized. Suddenly, about 20 ghosts came through the walls. They were pearly white and transparent. They talked about where they used to live and then floated away. Professor McGonagall returned. Now, form a line and follow me, she said. They walked into the great hall. It was the most amazing room Harry had ever seen. Thousands of candles floated in the air above 4 long tables. The tables were filled with students. At the top of the hall was another table where the teachers sat. The ceiling looked like the night sky outside. It's enchanted, Hermione whispered. It looks like the sky outside. Professor McGonagall put a 4-legged stool in front of the first years. On it was an old dirty wizard's hat. Everyone waited. Then the hat moved. A rip near the brim opened like a mouth, and the hat began to sing. Oh, you may not think I'm pretty, but don't judge on what you see. I'll eat myself if you can find a smarter hat than me. The hat sang about the 4 houses and what qualities each valued. When it finished, the whole hall clapped. The hat will decide your house, Professor McGonagall explained. When I call your name, come up and put on the hat. She started reading names alphabetically. Some students went to Hufflepuff, some to Ravenclaw. Then she called Harry Potter. A whole hall went silent. Then everyone started whispering. Potter, did she say? The Harry Potter. Harry walked forward with shaking legs. He put on the hat. It was too big and fell over his eyes. Said a small voice in his ear. Difficult, very difficult. Plenty of courage, I see. Not a bad mind either. There's talent, oh my goodness, yes, and a nice thirst to prove yourself. Now that's interesting. Please, not Slytherin, Harry thought quietly. Not Slytherin, eh? Said the voice. Are you sure? You could be great, you know. Well, if you're sure, better be Gryffindor. Harry felt so happy. He took off the hat and walked to the Gryffindor table. Everyone was cheering and clapping. The Weasley twins shouted, "We got Potter! We got Potter!" Ron was called next. The hat shouted, "Gryffindor," almost immediately. Ron collapsed into the chair next to Harry, looking relieved. When Hermione's name was called, she ran to the stool and put the hat on. It took almost 4 minutes before it shouted, "Gryffindor." At last, the sorting ended. Professor Dumbledore stood up. He had a long silver beard and twinkling blue eyes. "Welcome to a new year at Hogwarts," he said. "Let the feast begin." Suddenly, food appeared on the golden plates. Roast beef, chicken, stoke, and for some reason, peppermint humbugs. Part 7. Harry's first week at Hogwarts was full of surprises. He shared a bedroom in Gryffindor Tower with Ron and 4 other boys. Their beds were comfortable with warm red blankets. From their window, they could see the beautiful school grounds. The next morning, they got their class schedules. Their first lesson was potions with Professor Snape. The potions classroom was in the dungeon. It was cold and had many glass bottles with strange things inside. Professor Snape had black hair, black eyes, and black clothes. He spoke very quietly. "I will teach you how to make powerful drinks," he said. "But I don't expect many of you to understand the beauty of potion making. He looked at Harry. Harry Potter, our new celebrity. Then he asked Harry 3 difficult questions. Harry didn't know any answers. Hermione knew all the answers, but Snape ignored her. Snape gave them their first potion to make. It was hard work. Harry was bad at it, but Ron was worse. Neville made a mistake, and his potion turned blue and smoky. Snape was very angry with him. On Thursday, they had their first flying lesson with Madame Hooch. She had short gray hair and yellow eyes like a hawk. "Stand next to your broomsticks," she said. "Put your hand over it and say, 'Up.'" Harry's broom jumped into his hand immediately, but Ron's broom rolled on the ground. Hermione's broom only twitched. Then Neville got nervous and flew up too high. He fell off his broom and broke his wrist. Madame Hooch took him to the hospital. While they were waiting, Draco Malfoy found Neville's Remembrall, a glass ball that turns red if you forget something. He flew up with it. "Give it here, Malfoy," Harry shouted. Without thinking, Harry jumped on his broom and flew up too. It felt natural and easy. Professor McGonagall saw this. She was very angry. "How dare you fly without permission?" But then she smiled. "I have a new idea. Come with me." She introduced Harry to Oliver Wood, captain of the Gryffindor Quidditch team. "I found you a new seeker," she said. Quidditch was a famous wizarding sport played on broomsticks. There were 7 players on each team, 3 chasers, 2 beaters, 1 keeper, and 1 seeker. The seeker's job was to catch the golden snitch, a tiny, fast golden ball with wings. Catching it ended the game and gave 150 points. Harry became the youngest seeker in 100 years. He practiced with Oliver Wood every evening. He was very good at flying. Harry, Ron, and Hermione became better friends. One day, a troll came into the school. It was big, stupid, and dangerous. The troll went into the girls' bathroom where Hermione was crying. Harry and Ron went to save her. Harry jumped on the troll's back and put his wand in its nose. Ron used a spell to make the troll's club fly up and hit its own head. The troll fell down. Professor McGonagall found them. She was very angry, but then she gave them 5 points each for bravery. From that day, Harry, Ron, and Hermione became best friends. Harry noticed that Professor Snape was watching him all the time. He also saw that Snape had a hurt leg. Hagrid accidentally told them that someone tried to get past a big 3-headed dog named Fluffy. "Fluffy is guarding something," Hagrid said. "It's between Dumbledore and Nicholas Flamel, a secret." Harry, Ron, and Hermione decided to find out what was happening. They went to the library to research about Nicholas Flamel. They found nothing at first, but Harry received an invisibility cloak for Christmas. It made him invisible when he wore it. One night, Harry used the cloak to go to the library's restricted section. He found a book that screamed when he opened it. He ran away and hid in an empty classroom. There he saw the mirror of Erised. When he looked in it, he saw his parents standing behind him, smiling. He felt very happy. He went back to look in the mirror many times. Later, Dumbledore told him, "This mirror shows us nothing more or less than the deepest desire of our hearts. You must not dwell on dreams and forget to live." Harry understood. He didn't go back to the mirror again. Meanwhile, they finally discovered who Nicholas Flamel was, the maker of the Sorcerer's Stone. The stone could make gold and give eternal life. They realized someone was trying to steal it from Hogwarts. They were sure that someone was Professor Snape. Part 8. The Forbidden Corridor. As winter turned to spring, Harry, Ron, and Hermione became more worried about the Sorcerer's Stone. They were sure Professor Snape wanted to steal it. They decided they needed to learn more about what was happening. One day in the library, Hermione found an important book. "I found it," she whispered excitedly. Nicholas Flamel is the only known maker of the Sorcerer's Stone. The stone can turn any metal into pure gold and make a drink that gives eternal life. Harry remembered seeing the stone's name on a paper at Gringotts Bank. "That's what was in that special vault Hagrid took something from on my birthday," he said. They went to visit Hagrid. He was sitting outside his small wooden house, drinking tea. "Hello, kids," he said happily. They asked him about the Sorcerer's Stone. Hagrid looked nervous. "I shouldn't talk about that," he said, but when they mentioned Snape, Hagrid became angry. Professor Snape is a teacher at Hogwarts. He wouldn't steal anything. But then Hagrid accidentally told them something important. "Myself took the stone from Gringotts. Dumbledore asked me to bring it here for safekeeping. It's protected by many magical spells and creatures, including my own Fluffy." Hagrid told them too much. He explained that the stone was protected by 7 different magical challenges made by different teachers. "Fluffy is only the first protection," Hagrid said proudly. "After him, there are more challenges made by Professors Sprout, Flitwick, McGonagall, Quirrell, and Snape." This was bad news. If Snape made one of the protections, he would know how to get through it. Over the next few weeks, they watched Snape carefully. They noticed he was walking with a limp. "He probably got hurt when he tried to get past Fluffy," said Ron. Then, during a Quidditch match, Harry's broom started acting strangely. It tried to throw him off. Hermione saw Professor Snape staring at Harry and whispering strange words. "He's doing dark magic on your broom," Hermione said. She quickly ran and knocked Professor Quirrell into Snape. The spell was broken, and Harry could control his broom again. One night, Harry was walking under his invisibility cloak. He heard Professor Quirrell talking to someone. "I don't know, Master. I can't." Then Quirrell said, "Snape is getting suspicious." Harry was confused. Was Quirrell working with Snape? Or was Snape watching Quirrell? Finally, Harry, Ron, and Hermione decided they needed to tell Professor Dumbledore. They went to his office, but he wasn't there. Another teacher told them Dumbledore had to go to London for important ministry business. This was their worst fear. If someone wanted to steal the stone, they would do it while Dumbledore was away. That night, they met in the common room. "We have to do something," Harry said. "We can't let Snape get the stone." "But how will we get past Fluffy?" asked Ron, looking scared. Hermione remembered what Hagrid told them. Hagrid said Fluffy falls asleep if you play music for him. Remember when we saw him with that little flute? They decided to go that night. Harry was nervous but determined. He didn't want Voldemort to come back to power. If Voldemort got the stone, he would become strong again and might try to kill Harry once more. As they got ready to go to the forbidden third-floor corridor, Harry felt both scared and brave. He knew they were breaking many school rules, but he felt it was the right thing to do. Little did they know that they were wrong about everything. The real danger was not who they thought it was. Part 9. Through the Trapdoor. That night, when everyone was sleeping, Harry, Ron, and Hermione put on their robes and sneaked out of Gryffindor Tower. They moved quietly through the dark halls. The moon shone through the windows, making long shadows on the walls. They reached the third-floor corridor. The door was locked. "Alohomora," Hermione whispered, pointing her wand at the lock. There was a quiet click, and the door opened. Inside the dark room, they could hear Fluffy's 3 heads snoring loudly. The giant dog was sleeping, but it was still scary. Harry took out the flute that Hagrid had given him for Christmas. He started to play. It wasn't beautiful music, but it worked. Fluffy's 6 eyes began to close. Soon all 3 heads were sleeping deeply. They could see the trapdoor under Fluffy's paw. "Now," Harry whispered. They carefully moved toward the trapdoor. The smell of the dog was strong. Harry lifted the heavy wooden door. Below was complete darkness. "Who will go first?" Ron asked, his voice shaking. "I will," Harry said bravely. He jumped into the darkness. Harry landed on something soft. A moment later, Ron and Hermione landed next to him. They were in a room with strange plants everywhere. Suddenly, the plants started moving. Long tendrils wrapped around Ron's legs. "Help!" he shouted. "They're pulling me down." "It's Devil's Snare," Hermione cried. "It likes dark and wet places. We need light." Harry tried to use his wand, but he couldn't remember the spell. Hermione closed her eyes and fought hard. "Lumos!" she shouted. Bright light came from her wand, and the plants immediately let go of Ron. They found a door and ran to the next room. The next room was large and bright. The ceiling was high, and they could see the sky. In the middle of the room were many brooms. Across the room, they saw another door with a big lock, but there was no key. Instead, hundreds of birds with wings were flying in the air. "Those aren't birds," Harry said. "They're keys." They needed to find the right key for the lock. Hermione noticed that one key had a broken wing. It looked different from the others. "That one," she pointed. "It must be the right key." Harry jumped on a broom and flew up. He was the best flyer. The keys flew around his head, hitting him. But he chased the broken-winged key and caught it. He brought it down, and they opened the door. The next room looked like a giant chessboard. The pieces were as tall as them and made of black and white stone. On's eyes lit up. "We have to play our way across," he said. Ron was very good at wizard chess. They became chess pieces themselves. Ron directed them where to stand. It was a dangerous game. When one of their pieces was taken, the stone pieces broke it violently. Finally, Ron made a brave move. "I have to let them take me," he said. "Then, Harry, you can checkmate the king." It worked, but Ron got hurt when his piece was taken. He couldn't continue. "I'll stay with Ron," Hermione said worriedly. "You go on, Harry." Harry continued alone to the next room. Harry entered a room with a table. On the table were 7 bottles of different shapes and sizes. Behind the bottles was a black fire. Behind that fire, Harry could see the last door. There was a piece of paper on the table. It was a logic puzzle written in riddles. Hermione suddenly ran into the room. "I charmed the chess pieces to watch Ron," she said. Hermione suddenly ran into the room. "I charmed the chess pieces to watch Ron," she said. Hermione suddenly ran into the room. "I charmed the chess pieces to watch Ron," she said. After thinking hard, she pointed to a small bottle. "This one will let you go through the black fire to the stone. And this one," she pointed to a round bottle, "will let me go back to help Ron." She drank from the round bottle and disappeared back through the purple fire. He took a deep breath and drank from the small bottle. It tasted like ice. Then he walked straight through the black fire, ready to face whatever was waiting for him. Part 10. The Final Face-Off. Harry walked through the black fire and entered the last room. It was a large, circular chamber. Instead of Professor Snape, he saw Professor Quirrell standing there alone. "You!" Harry stammered, completely surprised. Professor Quirrell smiled, but it wasn't his usual nervous smile. "Me," he said in a strong, clear voice. "I wondered if I'd be meeting you here, Potter." "But I thought, Snape." "Severus?" Quirrell laughed. "He does seem the type, doesn't he? So suspicious. Always sneaking around. He's been trying to protect you, actually. Been quite a nuisance." Quirrell snapped his fingers. Ropes flew out of nowhere and tied Harry up tightly. "Now, let's get down to business," Quirrell said, turning to face the mirror of Erised, which stood in the middle of the room. "I need to find that stone." Harry watched as Quirrell looked into the mirror. "I see myself presenting the stone to you, Master, but I don't have it. How do I get it?" Then a cold, high voice spoke, though Quirrell's lips weren't moving. "Use the boy. Let me speak to him." Quirrell began to unwrap his turban. As the cloth fell away, Harry saw the most terrifying sight. There, on the back of Quirrell's head, was a face, a pale, snake-like face with glowing red eyes. "Harry Potter," the face whispered, "see what I have become? Shadow and vapor. I have form only when I can share another's body. But there are always those willing to let me into their hearts and minds, but there are always those willing to let me into their hearts and minds. Voldemort." Harry felt cold with fear. "Look in the mirror, boy." Voldemort commanded. "Tell me what you see." Quirrell pushed Harry in front of the mirror. At first, Harry saw only his own reflection, pale and scared. Then, something amazing happened. He saw his reflection wink at him and put its hand into its pocket. When the hand came out, it was holding a blood-red stone. The reflection then put the stone into real Harry's pocket, and Harry felt something heavy drop into it. "I see my parents," Harry lied. "They're standing behind me." "He lies!" Voldemort screamed. "He has the stone in his pocket. Get it!" Quirrell reached for Harry, but the moment his hands touched Harry's skin, they began to smoke and burn. Quirrell screamed in pain. "Kill him!" Voldemort shrieked. Quirrell tried to grab Harry again, but every touch caused him terrible pain. Harry's headscar was burning worse than ever, but he fought back. He grabbed Quirrell's face, and the man screamed as blisters formed wherever Harry touched him. They struggled on the floor. Harry was getting weaker from the pain in his scar. Through the haze of pain, he saw Quirrell's burned face and heard Voldemort screaming. When Harry woke up, he was in the hospital wing. Professor Dumbledore was sitting by his bed. "Calm yourself, dear boy," Dumbledore said gently. "Quirrell didn't get the stone. Thanks to your mother's love, which still protects you, Quirrell couldn't touch you without suffering great pain. But what happened to the stone? Nicholas Flamel and I agreed that it should be destroyed. He has enough elixir to set his affairs in order. Then he and his wife will die peacefully." "But that means they'll die." To the well-organized mind, death is but the next great adventure, Dumbledore said calmly. What happened down in the dungeons is a complete secret, so naturally, the whole school knows. I believe your friends, Misters Fred and George Weasley, were responsible for trying to send you a toilet seat. Harry laughed, then grew serious. "Professor, why couldn't Quirrell touch me?" "Your mother died to save you. That kind of love leaves a mark. It lives in your very skin. Love is a powerful magic that Voldemort cannot understand." At the end of year feast, the Great Hall was decorated in green and silver for Slytherin's victory. But Dumbledore stood up and gave last-minute points. To Mr. Ronald Weasley, for the best played game of chess Hogwarts has seen in many years, 50 points. To Miss Hermione Granger, for the use of cool logic in the face of fire, 50 points. To Mr. Harry Potter, for pure nerve and outstanding courage, 60 points. The Gryffindor table erupted in cheers as their banners replaced Slytherin's. They had won the House Cup. The next morning, Harry packed his trunk and rode the train back to London with Ron and Hermione. "I'll send you letters," Hermione promised. "Me too," said Ron. "I'll ask my dad if we can borrow the car to come get you." At King's Cross Station, Harry saw the Dursleys waiting for him. They looked exactly as unpleasant as he remembered. "Ready for the summer, Harry?" Ron asked. Harry smiled. It wouldn't be so bad. He had friends now. Real friends. And he was already counting the days until he could return to Hogwarts, the place where he truly belonged.